can benefit yourself and benefit many more people, so that we can all learn from it, and also to help more people when they climb this mountain, they feel much easier. And yeah, I can see many questions coming in. So yeah, if our translator can help, and also to put it in the English, so that our grandpa is easier for the question to be answered by Geshe Michael. Yeah, time is now 10 o'clock. Is Ye ready to give us the QA?
爷爷非常棒。
Yes, 非常棒。
爷爷非常棒。
Yes, let's climb the
爷爷
mountain.
非常棒。 Okay, Seiji, you're up.
Okay. First of all, thank you very much for taking your time to teach us the most incredible life tools. We have a lot of questions from the audience, so let's just get to it. These are straight to the point questions.
Okay.
What's the difference between no self and emptiness?
Whoa. That's a good question. The question was, what's the difference between no self and emptiness? And so as you know, there's many different ancient schools of Asian philosophy, and they have different ideas about what is no self or what is emptiness. And for example, in the Abhidharma school, which is maybe the lowest of the traditional 5 schools of India, they don't use the word emptiness. They don't like the word emptiness. They never use the word emptiness. They do say no self nature. They say no self, okay? Then when you get up higher, for example, to the mind-only school or the lower middle way school, they say there's a no self and there's also emptiness, and they are not the same thing. They say they are slightly different, you know, and if you can see one and you're still not able to see the other one, you know, they will say something like that. And then the highest school of all, which is the Prasangika middle way, they will say no self and emptiness means exactly the same thing. So I think that's a good way to learn about it. And what do we mean by emptiness, or what do we mean by no self? I think it's important to remember that when we say emptiness, we mean something's missing, okay? Like when you reach in your pocket and you're looking for something, you thought it was in your pocket. Like we always give the example of Grandpa paying for John Brady's dinner. And then I reach into my pocket for the money and there's no money. And then I'm like surprised, and I'm like, oh, John, I'm so sorry, I don't have any money, you have to pay. And so emptiness means something you thought was there was not there. And if with the pen, it's easy. You always thought that this pen was made in a factory. Then later you find out that the real pen is coming from you, okay? Then the pen that was made in a factory, you kind of canceled that idea, and that's called emptiness, okay? When we say no self, in the highest meaning of no self, and again, there are several lower meanings, but when we say no self, we mean no self nature, which means the pen is not coming from its own side, okay? That's all. When you say no self, it means the pen is not coming from its own side, it's coming from me. In general, everything is itself, okay? And that's not a problem. The pen is not the glass, you know? The pen is itself. And it does have a self nature. but it does not have a self nature of coming from its own side, okay? So that's the difference. They mean the same thing, but there are many, many flavors, there are many, many arguments, and the reason for those arguments is that we will understand the idea better if we talk about it in different ways, okay? We will understand the same subject better if we talk about it in different ways. So when you say self, don't think about myself or himself or something like that. It just means coming from their own side, okay? Like that. All right, we got another question, Mr. CG.
Yes, we do. Can everybody in the Zoom call hear?
It's cruel to
Okay.
eat pizza in front of... I'm just kidding.
So we have learned that emptiness means that things do not possess a nature of their own. However, when learning about Chi Chedrak, it's in the last of the Chi. Sounds like a car has some carness. How can we think about Chi Chedrak in a correct way to help us understand emptiness?
Wow, that's a cool question. Yeah, as we spoke about Chi Chedrak, then the word Chi as a general quality, karnas, for example, it seemed to almost be selfness, right? And so I understand the question. When we talk about Chi Chedrak, in its highest meaning, we're talking about quality and something which is characteristic of that quality, okay? Something which has that quality. And it almost feels like then the general or the characteristic or the archetype, the Chi, it feels like if anything in the universe comes from its own side, if anything has its own self-nature, it should be karnas, okay? Like, I'm not creating karnas, and I'll tell you a famous argument about it. As a quality, karnas is considered unchanging, and it's considered uncreated. Okay, nobody made karnas. You can make a car, but you cannot make karnas. You can destroy a car, but you cannot destroy the idea of karnas. You see what I mean? General ideas, general truths, these are unchanging. And so they feel like they should come from their own side. Because here's a strange thing. Karnas is unchanging, and anything which is created by somebody has to be changing, okay? The definition of something changing is somebody created it, like a cause or some person created the thing. And when something is unchanging, it cannot be a creation. It cannot be created, okay? So it seems like things like karmas, which had nobody to create them, then they are unchanging, that it seems like if anything has its own nature, it should be one of those things. It should be karnas, something that existed in and of itself. Nobody created it. Nobody can destroy it. You can take karnas out of things, like when you destroy a car, you destroy the karnas of, or you remove the karnas of that car. But in general, karnas is something that doesn't change and was not created. So then it's a difficult thing to think about, that something could be unchanging, but still exist, did not have a cause, but still exist, like karnas, and still it's not coming from its own side, okay? Still, it's a creation of your pictures. So you can create through your mental pictures a thing which does not change and which nobody made? Okay, that's a difficult question. That's a really difficult question. All right, it did not come from a seed. It did not grow, but it did come from your pictures. Okay, that's a different thing. Okay, when everyone looks confused at my teacher, he will say, you have to cook it. You have to cook it. Okay, yeah. Karnas is unchanging. Karnas was not created. But Karnas did not come from its own side. Okay? Something like that. Okay? All right, other question.
Okay. Is there a seed or correlation that makes the laws, like the laws of cause and effect to work all the time?
Yeah, that's a good question. Is there a seed which makes laws be laws? Law means something works the same all the time, you know. And there are some crazy examples of this question. To be alive, can you look like a stone? Can you be made of what a stone is made of? But if you have the seeds, can you still be alive? You see what I mean? Can a stone be alive if they have the unbelievably weird seeds to be alive? Shouldn't it be possible for a stone to be alive if life comes from seeds in the person, right? And there's questions like that. And the answer is kind of cool. And I'll give $1. That means it's too easy. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Yeah, Seiji got the $1. He said yes, okay. Yeah, I mean, there's this old question, which came first, chicken or egg, you know? To get a chicken, you now have to have an egg. To get the egg, you have to have a chicken. And it seems like the answer should be neither one came first. You can't point to a first egg. You can't point to a first chicken. And that's the way it is with all the things in the world. With the things that are alive and the things that don't have life, that's a situation that has always existed. And that came out of the previous existence of those situations. So no, they don't change. They can be created from you and still not change. The pattern can stay the same from century to century, from eon to eon, but that doesn't mean it's self-existent, okay? It's just repeating what was there before, okay? And that is not self-existent, okay? Like that. Patterns can repeat indefinitely, and that means that life will take on 6 different forms. There's only 6 forms of life, 6 basic forms of life. There will never be a 7th, there will never be 5. But that doesn't mean that those were made by somebody or something like that, okay? All right. Or that they are self-existent, okay? Okay, Seiji.
A follow-up on that question. Can you say then that if these unchanging things come out of an image, that they were planted?
Oh yeah, that you can say. You can say that an unchanging thing is produced by an image that was planted. Does that mean an unchanging thing was created? We would say no. Okay, so that's a difficult question. That's a difficult question.
Yeah. If I could ask a
I don't mind. I don't mind. Go ahead.
How would you plant the seed for something unchanging?
That's a good question. I think because it hasn't changed, it's probably been around all the time. And I don't know. I guess you would just think of the same pattern. So I don't know if you want to think of something unchanging, it would be the emptiness of a pen. The fact that the pen doesn't come from a factory is unchanging, but that fact comes up in front of my mind out of a seed in my mind that creates an image of an unchanging thing. Okay, how's that? That's possible. That's possible.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
And by the way, unchanging things is a big, big topic. It's a big, big topic of the Abhidharma, for example. From the beginning days of these ancient traditions, they have discussed the questions. Chunam sache sapa me lama tope duchi na sache kanche data la sanan kundu gebu samin langi demadan dumachina se de nangha dani gopadi lela nanga madibao. Very famous opening of Abhidharma Kosha. All things are divided into stained and unstained, and then they can be divided into those things which change and those things which don't change. And it's just to think about something which never changes is difficult for a human mind because a human mind is changing. Okay, so a changing entity, a living entity, the human mind, which is constantly changing. And if you don't think so, you haven't been married. The human mind is constantly in change. It's constantly in flux. And therefore, it's hard to imagine how an instrument, which is constantly changing, could think of or aid in the creation of a thing which cannot change. Okay, that's a difficult question. And it's very, very interesting. The Abhidharma Kosha, which is the first great text of this tradition 2,500 years ago, they don't touch that question until a very specific point at the end of the very first chapter. They go through every existing thing in the universe. They describe every existing thing in the universe. And then only in the final few lines, they talk about things which cannot change, but they still exist. And they save it for the end. And in those lower schools, something which doesn't change is very close to being emptiness, is very close to being ultimate reality. In the end of the Abhidharma Kosha first chapter, where they divide out the whole universe into the jewelry box, they saved that for the last verse or the next to last verse, okay? And then it's very blunt. And it says of all the things in the universe, the only truly pure things are unchanging, okay? So they almost say it's the same thing. Okay. All right, boss.
All right, thank you very much. The next question is, what's the difference between the archetype of a car, the one that our mom showed us and said car, and the quality carness?
Same thing. Yeah, what's the difference between the archetype car and carness? They are the same thing. Yeah, they are the same thing. So when your mom, and by the way, it's just kind of a simple explanation for DCI audiences. The archetype of a car in your mind was not only put there by your mom. According to the full philosophy, you had seeds for that archetype for billions of years before that. For DCI, and by the way, as a DCI teacher, you've got to be super skillful to take out of the ancient philosophy ideas that will help people, and don't talk about ideas which are too difficult or too big for a person to use in solving their marriage problems, for example. You see what I mean? Like you could talk about philosophy all day, but that might not help a person who's having a marriage problem. So it's important as a DCI teacher that you learn to limit the conversation to what we could call normal life. Okay, there's a challenge for a DCI teacher. Can you talk about the great ideas of the ancient books and still not go outside of a person's normal life? Okay, and that's the challenge of a DCI teacher, and it's a wonderful challenge. And in fact, it's why DCI is so amazing in the world. Yep. Okay, Seiji.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question is, if I touch the diamond world in the past, in what ways could I become aware of that this time?
Yeah, good. So there's an interesting topic in the ancient books, and it's called Bakchak Sepa. Say Bakchak? Bakchak. Sepa? Sepa. Bakchak means a deep seed. You can say like a sanskara, but it's a deep, deep seed, bija or something. That's a deep, deep seed in a person's heart. Sepa is a very beautiful word that means a deep, deep seed inside your heart suddenly opens, okay? And let's say you touch the diamond world in this life, and then you die, and then you go through a birth process, and you're just a 2-week-old baby. You are definitely gonna poop and throw up and do all the normal things, okay? You are not different like that. And you will not remember what happened to you in your past life. You won't remember, okay? And that's normal, okay? So, and then there's a beautiful thing at age 16. Normally it's 16 or 17. We call Bakchak Sepa. It means ancient seeds, ancient important seeds in your heart wake up. Usually around 16 or 17. You might meet someone very, very important from your past life when you are 16 or 17. It's very common. And in the Geshe course, for example, they actually watch the Geshe candidates who are 16 or 17 to see if certain seeds open up, and they start to remember what they experienced before or something like that. It's not normal to remember before that. And it's not normal to not remember much after that. Okay, so there's a sweet spot in a human development of being, I guess it's around puberty or 16 or 17 years old, that you remember things come to you that happened to you before, okay? So that's very, very normal. In the case of touching the diamond world, the seed that is planted by that experience is so powerful that until the age of 16 or 17, in the next life, you will be taken care of by people who know who you are and what happened. And they will help you, they will guide you. Every person who touches the diamond world has these kinds of teachers from the day they're born, okay? Very interesting, okay? It will never happen that you wouldn't have a teacher like that, who knows who you are, even if you don't know who you are, okay? Like that, okay? That's kind of cool. There's a big feeling that things are taken care of after that. After you touch the diamond world, there's all this stuff is taken care of, It's like you don't have to worry about it, okay? It's always taken care of. The seed is so powerful that you will always be taken care of, okay? All right, what's next, Grandpa?
So, thank you very much. The next question is, I understand that touching the diamond world or seeing emptiness is this significant event symbolizing the transition between the second and third path. Is there a symbolic event that marks the transition between the third and fourth and fifth?
Wow, that's a wonderful question. Dang, I gotta think about that. Moving from the third path to the fourth path, okay? Path of seeing to path of habituation. And don't forget that, to get to the first path was pretty much countless years. They don't have any number. It's billions and billions and billions of years to get to the first path. And then the transition from the first path to the second path, depending on your stage, it could take 15 years, something like that, 20 years. And then the third path, there's a huge debate. There's a very large body of literature about it. And the question is, how long do you stay at the third path, okay? And the Abhidharma, for example, says that the first 15 milliseconds, you are on the path of seeing, and the 16th millisecond, you are already off the path of seeing. You're already on the fourth path. Okay? They would say 15 seconds, 15 milliseconds in the path of seeing, and then by the 16th millisecond, you are on the path of habituation. You're on the fourth path. The Abhidharma school would say the transition from the third path, slow down, Geshe Michael, to the fourth path occurs in 15 seconds. Okay? And don't forget, maybe the path before that took 10 billion years. It's very interesting. Okay? So I would personally say that you could count the third path as taking about 12 hours or something like that. Okay, I would count it as about 12 hours or something like that. I would say by the time you sleep on the night that you touch the diamond world, by the time you wake up the next morning, you are on the fourth path, okay? How long you stay on the fourth path is very, very traditionally what we said, 7 lifetimes. Those are what we call se lo gyape se, which means 7 lifetimes in the point in history when the average lifespan is under 100 years. So supposed to be when people are living average of 70 years or 80 years, this is supposed to be the worst of times. Normal in the history, in the big history of millions of years, billions of years, a human normally lives for hundreds of years. But in the bad days, in the lowest point in history, people live maybe 50, 60, 70 years. Okay, so they would say traditionally that we're in a very low period of history, judging from lifespans, judging from the average lifespans. But they say those are the most fertile periods in history because people's lives are so short, 70 years. They are more aware that they're going to die, and they're more likely to think about the important questions of life. A person who's going to die soon is a much more of a philosopher than a person who thinks they're not going to die soon. You see what I mean? So they say a rather short life, to live in the times of a short life, is kind of a blessing, because you will see a lot of death around you. All the people you know will die one by one. And then you will wake up, you will work harder to do something with your life, okay? So anyway, in typical time spent on the fourth path is 7 lifetimes, or in the years in the 70 to 100 lifespan times, which means I would say 500 years average. Okay, you can shorten it with diamond weight. You know, theoretically, you can shorten it to a single lifespan. That's one thing, and you pretty much can't lengthen it past that. It's not possible. Okay. Then how long do you stay at the fifth path? Forever. Okay, that's kind of cool. Okay, and the fifth path, to be honest, if you want something to think about, the fifth path is not a path. You're not going anywhere. You're at the end. The fifth path is the end. You don't travel anywhere in the fifth path. It's just it's a way of being. You reach a certain way of being and you stay there forever. A lot of people say it shouldn't be called a path. Okay, because you're not going anywhere. You're already finished. You see what I mean? So that's interesting. Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the next question is, dear teacher, I've noticed that every time I attend a teacher training, I have some challenges, particularly in level 7. One of them, my mother, is 77 years old and has kidney issues and has been feeling depressed lately. So she doesn't want to move and seems physically weak. How can I plant seeds for her health and happiness? And how to make these seeds ripen fast?
Okay, good. It's very, very, very famous that when you finally start doing something that's really important for the world, new obstacles will come up, you know. And you, in the old days, they would call it demons or spirits or something like that. I don't think you have to imagine that there's little guys who are very mean and they want to stop you from making progress. You know, I think that's sort of an old idea. The nature of the world, though, and as you get older, you will realize it. When something important is going to happen, when something very good is going to happen, there will be much more obstacles. Much more obstacles will come up, you know. And there's a word for it in the ancient language. It's gonumba. So everybody's like at the same level. And then one person sticks their head up. And life is waiting for that one person to stick their head up. And then they dung, dung. You know, life wants everyone to be equally miserable. And then one person says, I'm getting out, I'm going to study DCI level 7. And then they say that there's a natural reaction from the universe where it goes, you can say it's a demon, but it's not really. It's just the nature of entropy. Things tend towards average, that something will come and you will draw attention. If you start to teach level 7, if you start to think about level 7, you will draw the attention of equalizing forces that want you to be, they want you to go back to where you were. You're just quietly dying every day, you know. You're just cooperating with the big plan, you know. You're dying on schedule. And then somebody says, I don't want to. And then they're like, why you don't want to cooperate? You know, so when you're doing something wonderful, you will get more obstacles. And then hopefully you'll remember, oh, Geshe-la talked about that. And there's a weird attitude of really cool people. They say, oh, Chloe, you know, today I had a disaster. You know, like I had a terrible thing happen to me. You know, today something terrible happened to me. And then Chloe say, "You're so lucky. It means you put your head up, you know, that means you're making progress. You're so lucky that something bad happened to you today." And in the beginning, it just sounds like psychology, like someone's trying to make you feel better, and it doesn't sound true. But as an old man, that's why you hire grandpa. I'll tell you, it is true, okay? If you try to do something important, big obstacles will come to you. And then you should feel proud. You know, you should go tell Emily, you know, Chloe goes to say, call Emily, say, "Oh, look, Emily, today, my car, something smashed into the back of my car. I'm so lucky, you know. It means I must be sticking my head up, you know. Like, I must be doing something good because I get all these obstacles, you know." And I know it sounds funny, and it sounds like your teacher's just trying to make you feel better. But from many years of experience, I can say it's really true. It is really true. The more you try to help people, the more effort and money you put into helping people, the more trouble you will get. You're like a magnet for trouble. And then you should take it as an honor. You should take it as an honor, you know. "Oh, I got an award today." What? "I got a car accident." "What do you mean you got an award?" "Oh, it's because I was helping my friends from Ukraine to have a better life, you know, and then this car hit me, you know, and you have to think like that, and you will think like that. When you understand more, you will think like that. You will take it as an honor that people give you trouble, okay? And you will laugh. You'll learn to laugh about it, and you learn to have fun when difficult things are happening. When you take level 7, when you're studying the most important topic, for example, something might happen to your mother. Your mother might have a more serious illness, or her illness might get worse. And then if you really understand about opening bad seeds and cleaning bad seeds, you gotta be happy. I'll tell you the story. In the Diamond Cutter Sutra, it says the person who reads this sutra will collect such good seed that they will have many disasters, you know. And that means their old bad seeds are cleaning out, okay? And they will have many disasters. And I'll tell you a funny story if you didn't hear it. I had a lady, she wrote me a letter. She said, "Geshe-la, I had a problem." And I'm like, "What?" And she said, "I was listening to your Diamond Cutter Sutra teaching on tape." She had a tape. This was years ago. "I was listening to your teaching. I was going down the Highway 1, California highway near the ocean, enjoying the ocean. And I was listening to your Diamond Cutter Sutra tape. And on the tape, you were talking that if we collect really good seeds, then some disasters will happen to us, you know. If we clean our seeds very well, then instead of dying or something, we will just have a big accident or something, and we should be happy." And then just when I'm listening to that part of your tape, my car caught on fire on the highway, on Highway 1. My car blew up, the engine is on fire, you know, burning. I stop the car, I jump out, you know, I run away, the car blew up. And she wrote me and she said, "I felt so happy. You know, I was so glad that I cleaned out so many bad seeds, you know, and it was wonderful. Just what the recordings say, it happened in my car that day. I'm so happy." And then she said, "Just one thing." "What's that?" "Can you send me a new tape?" because my tape burned up at that place. And I was laughing. I said, of course, I'll send you a new tape, but be careful, maybe it will burn also. Okay. So you will get problems, your family will get problems. And if it's me, and I'm doing something important that will help many people, and then something very bad happens, I just feel like, oh, okay, that's a sign that I'm doing the right thing, you know? So that's a sign. This obstacle is cleaning out my old bad seeds. I don't feel happy that my mother is more sick or something like that. I don't feel happy, but I understand why it's happening. And I feel some kind of peace in my heart. You know, I feel, okay, hard things are happening. My mom, I took level 7. My mom had another serious illness. You know, first of all, I'm on the right track, okay? And then most important, the whole goal of DCI, the only goal of DCI is to help people. You see, you are in the right business. You know, you are in the perfect business. You know, you are in the people helping business. You're a professional people helper. And your product is people helping. And so once you join DCI, once you become a DCI teacher, then, you know, bad seeds will burn up and your friends will get sick or problems will happen. But the reason you're in DCI is to help people stop those problems. You see what I mean? If you join DCI, if you become a DCI teacher, that will force many bad seeds to open. Then bad things will happen. And then you get to be a DCI teacher, because that's what DCI teachers do. Their job is to help people who are having trouble, okay? Being a DCI teacher causes trouble so you can be a DCI teacher and stop trouble, okay?
Okay, thank you very much. So the next question is, well, first of all, they say, thank you, Geshe Michael, for teaching us. I would like to have, to ask for an advice for those of us in the world that are experiencing the following situation. Many students are struggling to keep practicing because it looks sometimes like the situation they try to improve in the world is getting worse. Wars don't seem to stop. There's a lot of dishonesty, injustice, and overall international disharmony. I've been trying to purify these seeds for a while, and and like me, other people around me. Can you please give us some advice?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I know it's in the beginning, when you study DCI, when you practice DCI, and you feel such a bright future, you know, you say, I will work hard, I will study DCI, and because of the environmental result in the 4 flowers, as I improve my seeds, then the situation in the world around me will improve, you know, and I can look forward to a time when there's less and less war in the world, and there's less and less cancer in the world, and there's less and less fighting or disagreement in the world. You know, if I can practice DCI steadily, and I understand it's not going to change in 1 year, it's not going to change in 2 years, but if I work hard, if I work steadily, it should be that the world improves, right? It should be a steady improvement in the world. And I agree that it feels like it should be like that. But when you understand a seed, it opens faster. Okay? It's a strange thing, you know. When you understand a seed, it opens faster. It's a strange thing. Good seeds and bad seeds, okay? When you understand them, they will open faster. So there will be, in the short term, things will get much worse, you know. Things will get much worse before they get better. It's similar to in your meditation, and you teach people to meditate, you know, and you say, the first day you say, how'd your meditation go? And they say, oh, it was terrible. You know, my mind was talking the whole time, you know, it sounds like blah, 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 didn't stop, you know. Then you meet them after 10 days, after they first start the meditation. And you say, how's your meditation? Is it getting better? And they say, are you kidding? It got 10 times worse, you know. I'm meditating for 10 days. And before, my mind used to talk a little bit. And now my mind is talking all the time. My mind won't shut up, you know. It got much worse, Geshe-la. This meditation is a bad thing, you know. I used to have a pretty quiet mind. And now my mind is much worse, much more talkative. And then your meditation teacher says, good, your ear is getting better. You are starting to hear what's really there from the beginning. And before, you didn't hear it. You are getting more quiet. Your mind is getting more peaceful. And therefore, you can hear more garbage in your mind. Okay? Then your meditation teacher say, wonderful. You almost feel crazy? Yes. You're excellent. This is excellent meditation, you know. And that's what happens. Maybe it's not that, you know, people came to me and they looked very seriously at me and they say, Geshe-la, this that thing not working, you know. I say, why? And they say, there's just so much war, there's so much conflict, there's so much poverty, you know. And then I say, you know, I was born just after World War II. I was born just after World War II. I'm called, in my country, we call baby boomer. Why? All those guys got out of the army at the same time. And they didn't have sex for like 3 years. Guess what happened? They all run and find some lady, you know, and they start a family and they have sex. And my generation, we were all born in the same time because all those lonely guys in the army came home at the same time. And they start to, you know, they start to have families, you know, and they all start to have families. But let me tell you something, and think about it, okay? My father, in his world, in 4 or 5 years' time, 100 million people died of war. 100 million people died of war. My wife's here. Her father was a pilot in Europe in the war. And I think there were 200,000 pilots. 100,000 died. I mean, her father saw 50% die in 2 years or something, you know, 100,000 young men, you're talking 17, 18, 19 years old, they died just in one airplane, just doing this one job, you know. And so when you think about, is the world getting better or the world's getting worse. I would say it's not good. And there's many very cruel and stupid and violent things going on. And there's many cruel and stupid people. But also starvation is the lowest it has ever been in history. People dying without food is the lowest it's been in human history. So I'd say, maybe you become more aware of suffering, and then you see more suffering. But statistically, things are getting better. Slowly, things are getting better. We still have a long way to go. Okay.
Thank you. We still have another question before that.
Okay.
So thank you very much, Geshe Michael, for teaching us these beautiful teachings on quality and characteristics. If we wanted to apply this into our day-to-day life, how can we use this to help us have immediate teachings or immediate benefits?
Oh yeah, okay. I'm gonna put an advertisement here for the Good Night Book Club, okay? And when I talked about excellence, arete, when I talked about trying to reach excellence, part of the DCI program, part of the Good Night Book Club program is to read about deeper things every day. Every day. Spend 10 minutes, spend 20 minutes, but think about deeper things. Expose your mind to the deepest ideas, the great ideas, You guys are lucky. In DCI, you are surrounded by wisdom. You have 8,000 pages of manuals. Okay, you have 8,000 pages to read every night. You can read 1 or 2 pages for 4,000 years or something. Okay, and every time you look at a book, every time you read a manual, and I say, keep a manual on your kitchen table. Did I say that before? I keep one in my bathroom. My wife knows. She told me recently, hey, that new one in the bathroom's pretty good. Then I'm like, you've been reading it. I just keep one around. I just keep a manual around and I read it. When I have 5 minutes, I just look at it and I read it. And those DCI manuals, every page you look at, it will improve your life in your life. During your life, it will improve your life. And it's unbelievable. It's amazing. Okay, if you want money, you will have all the money you want. My wife and I spend almost, I don't know, honey bunny, 1 hour, 2 hours a day giving away money. Just giving away money, and it just comes, okay? And wonderful people, wonderful things. If you just look at it for a few minutes every day, then seeds are planted in your mind. And you'll have an amazing life. You'll have a beautiful life, And of course, there'll be difficult times. There'll be hard things. We have hard times. We have hard things. Today, something hard happened. But in general, if you just look at the DCI manuals and you just read a little bit of the mixed nuts translations or something every day, then those seeds will open unstoppably and your life will be amazing. Your life will be amazing. I'm going to announce something that my boss Seiji gave me to announce. And if I finish early, I'll take another question. I wanted to remind you about the SCIM, Teachers Empowered Program. This is called STEP. And again, the idea of this program is that the normal SCIM terms are very intense, as you know, because you just finished one. 2 weeks of very intense work. There's no way you can work a job during those 2 weeks. You kind of have to say goodbye to your family for 2 weeks. You have to say goodbye to your sleep for 2 weeks, and you got to focus. It's so much to do, so many things to learn in those 2 weeks. So some people asked us, look, Geshe-la, Seiji, we love this stuff, but we can't, my boss is not going to give me 2 weeks off to study SCIM Diamond World, And I'll tell you, my own boss back in the jewelry company, they will fire me if I say I need 2 weeks to touch the Diamond World. They'll say, you can touch the unemployment check also, and, so we made a new system. The course is 1 month. You do a couple hours before you go to work. You do a couple hours when you get back from work. And we're going to start that on April 12th with level 11, which is really cool. It's how to get more time in your life, okay? And everybody in this world needs it. And if you can learn to teach it, you will really help people. That's a big thing, okay? So you're welcome to try this new format. Will we keep the old format? Yes. Is that 1 month format gonna be just old videos of Geshe-la teaching? No, okay? We're gonna have the same percentage of live classes, and depending on your time zone, it won't be, it's not that we're gonna just show you old videos of Geshe Michael when he used to have more hair or something like that, okay? It'll also be lots of fun live things going on, and a few recorded classes also, if I'm out of town or something like that. Okay, we also have the Diamond Peacock program coming up. We'll start June 7th and 8th in China. And really, it's a 2-year program. I like to call it the second half of your life, okay? I like to call it the second half of your life. First half of your life, you are building your life, you are making a family, you are getting a job, you are learning a skill, you are collecting income. And if you're following DCI principles, I would say that, halfway through your life, you're gonna be pretty comfortable and you're gonna be pretty happy with your life. And you're gonna have enough. You're gonna have enough of everything. You will have enough. And then I think you will come to experience what many rich people experience. Halfway through their life, they're looking for something to do with the second half of their life, Okay, first half of my life, I built my life. I built a company, I built a family, I built a house, then what do I do with the second half of my life? And so we thought, I always wanted to have a club or a group of people who want to do something special with the second half of their life, And I had this dream for many years. And I even thought, we will have a special dinners together and we will hang out together and maybe in Paris or maybe in Beijing or maybe in San Francisco. And we will meet together in a couple days and talk about what are you going to do with the second half of your life? And, how can we get together and make the second half of our life something beautiful to help other people. And maybe Rob wants to start a bicycle giveaway program in Africa, and maybe Gisela wants to create an enchilada factory besides the one he has at his house with the boss. And it means that maybe your idea of the second half of your life and my idea of the second half of my life, maybe it's a different content. I'm enchiladas, he's bicycles. But maybe we can get together and help each other have a successful second half of your life, and do something to help the world. Do something to help the world. I realized a long time ago that if you really want to see a world of peace, if you really want to see people get together in different countries, if you really want to see this world be something beautiful, you cannot sit and wait for the world leaders and wait for the governments and like that. We are the governments, and we are the people. We are the people of this world. You can't sit and wait for some buddy else to take care of the world. It's the people who are no longer in their diapers who have to take care of the world. It's all of us, and we have to take responsibility, and we have to do it. We have to, as much as we can do. We are not Einstein, but we know some stuff, and if we try, we can do something to help the world. And maybe if there's enough DCI middle life people who want to help the world, maybe we can make a better world. Maybe we can help. Maybe we can do something to help. We are not going to become the boss of the world. We're not going to become important people. But if there's enough of us and we all help other people, then we can do something great together. So that's called the Diamond Peacocks Club. It's kind of like a club. And it's people who want to organize some kind of help. It could be housing. We have a great project. We made almost 900 houses for poor people, and feeding people, going to nursing homes, ways to help the world, okay? So if you're interested in that program, it's called Diamond Peacock, June 7th and 8th. And it's a 2-year program for the second half of your life, okay? Grandpa's out of time. I want to thank you guys one more time for coming to level 7. Thank you for working so hard. Thank you to all the staff. Thank you to all the translators. The DCI staff, starting with Seiji and all the other staff, they work really, really hard. They work the whole year. And Geshe-la never thanks them. He never even talks to them much. And they, like crazy people, they keep making DCI stronger and stronger. They keep teaching more and more people. They take the responsibility even when I don't. And I'm really, really lucky and grateful to have you. All right. See you guys in the next class.